apply tonight, we are going to welcome you to do that. If you've not already applied, we'd love to welcome you to do that. You can go ahead to bypass the $35 application fee, use the code Open House. That will allow you to bypass the fee and get you into our application process. You can go to tls.edu/apply, and you can find our application button there. However, to get onto the website, I want to go ahead and give you, you've got a pen, I'd love to be able to give you the password, the Wi-Fi password to get on. That is D as in dog, capital D, OBIL, 24, one word. Again, DOBIL, 24, but I have been told that, that just know it might be a little slow, but you can go home and to finish the application tonight at home. And what we are going to be doing is we are going to be giving free LSAT prep books for anybody who does apply. But I want to give you a little trick with the application. Feel free to bypass the transcript portion. Your resume, we don't need that right now. Your personal statement, you can bypass that. Go ahead and just get your application in, and then your counselor will go from there and help you with the rest of your application, okay? Let's see. Also, too, I wanted to invite you. Trinity Law School about 10 weeks ago started virtual Q&A sessions. I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to join us. That is a half-hour webinar format where if you have questions, you can type in your questions, and the whole team is there to help answer questions that you might have. So just want you to know we host those weekly for you. You can find on the home page an opportunity to be able to reserve a time that works for your schedule, so we invite you to join us there as well. Let's see, quick little home housekeeping. Restrooms is just down this hall to the right, all the way back. It'll be on your left. And also with regards to parking, if you did not get a parking pass when you came in, please make sure you get one at the front. Carol is there to help you and get that parking pass all ready for you to go, okay? We are excited. Tonight we do have, if you are already an applicant, you have been assigned a counselor, and they are here tonight. We have Israel Cortez, Brooke Crockman, and Jack Crockman here to serve you. So if you recognize those names, please go up and say hello. They would love to personally meet you. It would be a pleasure. And they love meeting their applicants in person. So please be sure you go and say hello. So real quick, with tonight's agenda, let's see if I do this right. Here we are. What we're going to do is, after we open up in prayer, I would like to introduce to you Associate Dean Dana Clark, who is going to just to give a short, warm welcome and just chat with you, the law school journey and what that looks like for you in your future. From there, we're going to go to the Director of Academic Services. Her name is Katie Dana, and she's going to share what sets Trinity Law School apart from other law schools. And what's so exciting is that we have an alumni panel that's here to join us tonight. You're going to love hearing from them. And during Katie's message, I want to invite you to reach out and at the end ask the alumni some questions. What was your experience as a student at Trinity Law School? How many hours per week did you spend studying? Okay, maybe ask them what the faculty was like, or maybe ask, how did Trinity Law School prepare you to pass the bar exam? Okay, so don't be shy. They love Trinity Law School. They want to share with you their experiences, and so I really encourage you to feel free to go up and ask questions about their experience. From there, we're going to hear from the Director of Juris Doctor Admissions, Stephanie Vadas, who's going to share with us the 3 basic questions. Can I get in? Can I afford it? And can I fit it into my schedule? Okay. From there, we're going to end our evening with a short Q&A session. So be sure to write your questions down. We'll get to as many as we can. And be sure to stay to the end because we are hosting a little raffle for you for coming. So we'd love to be able to give away some free gifts tonight. But before I officially introduce Dean Clark to you, I'd like just to take a moment and just open our evening with prayer. Okay? All right. Oh, dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so much for each one of these men and women who are here tonight, Lord, and for all those, too, who are traveling. Would you keep them safe and bring them to us safe and sound? Lord, I thank you so much for our alumni panel, for Katie and Dean Clark, and for Stephanie, and for all of those who have put together tonight to make it possible for our prospective students, Lord. And Lord, I just pray that just for the next hour and a half, Lord, that anything heavy that's on our hearts, Lord, that we can just set that aside and that we can be present in front of you and really just have the heart and the ears to hear what Trinity Law School has to offer. So, Lord, we thank you for Trinity Law School, for the love light that it is in our little city, Lord, and we just pray that you just bless our time together. And it's in your Son's name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. And now I would love just to introduce to you Mr. Dana Clark, our associate degree.
Thank you, Leanne. Good evening. I was watching you all come in and fill in the room. I myself am Lutheran. How many Lutherans do we have? Because you fill this room like Lutherans fill a church from the back to the front. That's why I was curious. I bring you greetings from our Dean, Eric Halverson. He unfortunately couldn't be here this evening, so I'm kind of filling in this first little spot for him. But I'm pleased to be here, and I'm pleased to see all of you, and I want to congratulate you on your interest in studying the law. When Leanne asked me to prepare a few comments, I always find that to be very difficult. I've been an attorney for 36 years, and she only gave me 20 minutes. So I'm not even sure I can say my name in 20 minutes. But this evening is going to be interesting for you all. This is the first open house. I've been at Trinity since 2005. And this is the first open house that we haven't held there. But I will echo what Leanne offered to you a few minutes ago, and that is, we'd like you to come to the school. We'd like you to take a look around, to see what the facilities offer and so forth. So do take her up on that offer, contact the admissions department, and come to the school and get a tour. And if you're going by my office and you see me sitting there, stick your head in and say hello. You're going to hear tonight not only about the law school, but also what makes it different, and also the practical nuts and bolts that kind of go into this, things that need to be contemplated when you're considering attending law school. But what I'd like to spend a few minutes on right at the outset with you is why attending law school is likely to be important to you. And the major reason is probably because there is no other study, no other discipline that is expansive and is as all-encompassing as the study of law. When you consider the subjects that are offered, you have everything that deals with personal life, with families, even with death and what follows after that. There's considerations given of business affairs, who can transact, how we transact, and the rules that govern those transactions. Then, of course, courses like constitutional law, jurisprudence, legal institutions and values consider governmental affairs. What are our protected rights? What should be the limit of government oversight, reach, influence, power, things that are topics that affect the nation as a whole. And then, of course, there's faith affairs that are also governed by the law. Really, there's nothing that we do in our lives that the law doesn't touch upon. So it is very expansive. Number two, it's invigorating. It is not unusual to hear students standing in the hallways or remaining after class and discussing what's just gone on in class, because it kind of overflows even after the class session is ended. Now, clearly, those are conducted in the proper form, with professionalism and with respect and understanding that there are differences of opinion. But there's an old joke that says that one attorney in a town will starve to death, but if there are two or more, they'll never go hungry. So you've got to have somebody to dance with, so you'll enjoy that aspect of it. I'd also suggest to you that there is nothing like the study of law that can be as liberating. And by that, I don't only mean liberating in terms of your thinking, but in terms of the way that you live your life. Very few people can reinvent themselves multiple times in a single career. And attorneys can do that by changing their emphasis, by changing the area of practice that they were in. I myself did general civil litigation appeals for the better part of 30 years. That's a young man's sport. I don't want to get up at 4:30 in the morning anymore to make 8:30 court appearances in Ventura, okay? But there are other pursuits that one can go into that allow you to still deal with clients, to still do good, but to change the manner of one's lifestyle. And then finally, I would suggest that there's really no other study that provides a roadmap for leadership. Because it gives insights into the working of society as well as insights into the workings of people. Give you an example that just arose today. My eldest daughter just got married last September. My son-in-law was involved in a car accident this morning. Was on the 133 freeway. He was stopped, and a brand new, not even license plates on it, Range Rover Defender came down the shoulder, hit him and about 3 other cars, and then went on, didn't stop. And my son-in-law, when I spoke to him on the phone, said, boy, I'd like to get my hands around that guy's throat. And I said, you may not realize it, but God just did you 3 favors this morning. He says, what are you talking about? I said, number 1, you're okay physically, okay? Number 2, the car isn't that severely damaged that it can't be fixed. It's not gonna be totaled. And number 3, it's not that I'm jaded from all those years in litigation, but if I had a brand new Range Rover, expensive vehicle, I don't think that I as the owner would be ramming it into other cars driving down the shoulder. I said there's a very good chance that the person that hit you this morning probably stole that vehicle, and if you'd have caught up with them, you might have been looking down the muzzle of a gun. Favor number 3, okay? Insights into people, just the ability to look around corners. I often tell my students that's what separates attorneys from lay people. Is you get trained both in the classroom and through practical experience to look around corners, to anticipate things that other people just can't anticipate. I know all the jokes, believe me. I've collected them over the years. I doubt that anybody in the room could tell me an attorney joke that I couldn't give you the punchline to. You often hear that there are too many attorneys, right? But you never hear anybody say there are too many good ones. So as you're considering this pursuit, you might think about putting yourself in the minority or in that elite class and say, I'm going to be a good one, okay? I'm going to do the work that's required in law school. I'm going to pass the bar. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be a professional, and I'm going to be thought of as a good attorney. So again, I congratulate you for wanting to join this conversation, which is really what law school is all about, to learn the law, to learn to contribute. And to contribute to multiple things simultaneously. First of all, you contribute to your family. Clearly, the practice of law can enable you a sound financial future. And nobody needs to be ashamed of that. It's an honorable profession, but if attorneys don't get paid, they also don't stay in practice, so they're not much good to anybody. So you can contribute to your family financially. Number 2, you can contribute with leadership to your community. Because you have studied the workings of government, you have studied interactions between people, you have studied transactional matters. You can also contribute with vision to the nation. How many people are really comfortable with the vision for America right now? I don't hear an overwhelming response, okay? Let me put it a different way. How many people think that we should have fewer politicians and more statesmen? Maybe, okay? Maybe you can become part of that. You know, whether it be at a legislative level or an executive level or a judicial level, there's a means of contributing to that as well. And finally, I would suggest to you that over 30 years, I wasn't pleased with every day I ever practiced. There were ups and downs to it. But I would lay in bed sometimes at night, stare at a dark ceiling and think, what would I be doing if I wasn't doing what I am doing? Well, obviously, I never found anything else that I wanted to do more because I'm still doing it. So I would suggest to you that the last contribution, maybe the most important one, is to yourself in terms of having some satisfaction about what you're doing and the way that you're contributing to all those different things. So, as I segue, as I try to transfer over to the second part of this, ready to change the slide? Oh, you have. We're on the journey. What does this involve? So I've described a little bit in those opening minutes about what law school does, how it's important, but how does it all happen? What is it that you might expect from the experience? As I was considering what I might bring to you, it occurred to me that I can't possibly, put 3 or 4 years experience in front of you in 15 or 20 minutes. That just can't happen. So I thought probably the better thing to do is to use something that maybe many, if not all of you, are familiar with. How many of you like to travel? Oh, come on, everybody likes to travel, okay? Okay, so let me expand on that metaphor a little bit in terms of this idea of law school being a journey. What are the things that we all enjoy about travel? Well, we get a chance to try new things. We get to see new scenery, new vistas, a change of pace, different cultures, new people, new food, different languages, memorable architecture, maybe a little bit of adventure thrown in. And I'd suggest to you that law school shares a lot of attributes with those attributes of travel. Start off with the first one, trying new things. Learning is only a part of the program. Being able to use the law is really the key. So what you can expect is trying new things like developing logic skills, developing the exercise to embrace inferences while rejecting assumptions, or exercising your skills at meaningful argument, not just naysaying, but actually promoting a position. Second, new vistas. The study of law, as I mentioned, is the most liberating of all studies because it touches everything. It can lead in infinite directions in life, and it does, as I mentioned earlier, allow a person to reinvent themselves if they feel that need to. What about change of pace? Well, law school is not a typical education. I typically teach students as they're coming in and as they're going out. I teach a first-year class called torts, and oftentimes I teach a last-year class called remedies. And we hope to see some improvement between the first year and the last year, okay? But in doing that, I always have to go through the frustration of having students look for the conclusion. My wife and I are very different people. She's a math science person, okay? Took her first degree in microbiology, took her second degree in accounting. Good Lord, if I had to do what she does, I'd rather go drive a truck. I mean, we're just different people, okay? So she is right, wrong, black, white, on, off. I got no black, I got no white, but I got 1,000 shades of gray, okay? People think differently. So it's not the process of just swallow and regurgitate. And we've been doing this since we were this big, right? When you went to kindergarten, if you gave the teacher the right answer, they put a gold star on your forehead and sent you home. Well, forget about that. Because you're not looking for answers, you're looking for arguments. I just went through this with a torts class this morning. I had a student that was frustrated. Well, what's the answer, he said. What do you want it to be? You've heard that joke, right? About the guy that walked into his accountant's office and said, what's 2 plus 2? And the accountant said 4. So he walked down the street and walked into his attorney's office and said, what's 2 plus 2? And the attorney looked at him and said, what do you want it to be? Okay? That's only partially a joke, because I had to explain to this young man, who's going to be your first client? Is it going to be the plaintiff or the defendant? Well, I don't know. I don't know either, so you better be able to argue both ways. But in trying about 65 cases to verdict in front of juries, and probably another 25 or 30 court only over the last 35 or so years, never once have I had a jury come out and say, Mr. Clark, would you come back in here and help us decide this matter? No, that's not my job. That's the jury's job. That's the judge's job to decide. My job is to argue, okay? So that's where it's a change of pace. Rather than being swallow and regurgitate, it's assimilation, digestion, and use. Let's move on. Different cultures, okay? old English judge named Lord Coke, although his name is spelled like Coke, C-O-K-E, had a lot of good quotes, this guy. One of them was, "Those who have a healthy respect for the law and enjoy eating sausage should never watch either being made." Okay? But another one that he gave us was, "To know the law is to know a little bit about everything." And that's necessarily true. And you say, well, that's kind of grandiose, but stop and think about it. Over a career practicing law, you're going to have to learn what your client does. You're going to have to, maybe you're not going to master if he's a machinist machining, but you're going to have to know a little bit about what he does. So that's kind of the interesting part, is picking all of that up. Mathematics, science, business, innovation, marketing, art, music, literature, languages, goes on and on and on, okay? So if you are looking for different cultures, I would suggest that that's it. New people. You will forge relationships in law school that last you a lifetime. I had 2 study partners all the way through law school. I still see them regularly. That's been, good Lord, 40 years ago, okay? I still see them regularly. Those became lifetime friendships. What about new foods? Maybe it's not salsa, but not all persons that engage in rational thought and argument arrive at the same conclusion, do they? Many take different rational routes to arrive at a given conclusion, and many use different styles of writing and reasoning. So if you want to analogize that to food, you kind of get a different taste. Different languages. This is great. Anybody know what language medicine uses? Greek. And the law uses Latin, okay? So you will learn a little bit of Latin along the way. Phrases like sine qua non, res ipsa loquitur, expresso unius des excluso ulterius, de gustibus non disputandum est. And let me assure you, it's not a dead language, because if you get in a courtroom and your opponent and the judge speaks Latin and you don't, you're in trouble, okay? It's like a Protestant going to Mass, okay? You kind of feel left out. Those are terms that speak volumes, and they have stood the test of time. They communicate very quickly and very clearly. And they're a common vocabulary, I would suggest, to all properly trained lawyers and judges. What about memorable architecture? Getting back to our travel log here. Structures of the law are present as well. Legal reasoning and argument, what's known as IRAC, issue, rule, analysis, conclusion. The basis of law and the way that law is developed and formed. Why have we been so successful in adapting over time in a relatively peaceful manner? Because we rely upon stare decisis. We rely upon case precedent as opposed to some sort of less evolutionary, more revolutionary methodology. What about adventure? You might not think of law school as being a place to have an adventure, and we're not talking about parasailing or whitewater rafting or zip lining that you might do on vacation, but I bet I can get your adrenaline pumping a little bit with the first time that you're asked to stand and recite a case in class, okay? Or what about reasoning an argument over a topic with a classmate or a professor? Could be an adventure. What about being involved in moot court? Or better yet, what about becoming a certified law clerk under the state bar rules, so that with a supervising attorney in your presence, you can go out and do anything a lawyer can. You can go try a case. You can take a deposition. You can do whatever a lawyer can do. That has a sense of adventure to it, or at least I hope it does. So all of that probably sounds interesting, but maybe a little scary. It's not unusual before I take a trip that I'll develop some nerves, a little bit of anxiousness, a little bit of anxiety in a good way. Reminds me of my youngest daughter. She'd never been on a jet before. So my wife and I decided to take her on a little vacation, and we were going to fly out of John Wayne. How many of you ever flown in or out of John Wayne Airport? Okay. Then you know about the slingshot takeoff, right? For noise abatement, where they get down the other runway, they lock up the brakes, they rev up the engines, and then they launch. And you take off, and then all of a sudden they cut the engines back for noise abatement over beautiful Corona del Mar. and everything kind of goes weightless. Well, we're sitting at the end of the runway. My daughter never ever been on a plane before, and I got us seats right behind, so from the window seats, you could look out and see the wing. And of course, I'd flown in and out of there multiple times, in business over the years, and I knew that when they revved up the engines, the wings flex a little bit. So I said, now you watch the wings, because the pilot's gonna rev up the engine, the wings are gonna flap, and we'll take off. And of course, she's 10 years old, and she gives me the stupid dad joke, roll of the eyes thing, right? But she's looking out the window, and sure enough, when they began to move, her eyes got to be about the size of saucers. She wasn't sure whether old dad was joking or not. But how do you approach a pending journey? This is where I want to leave you, okay? You're considering going on this journey. What do you need to do? Well, you need to do the same thing that you need to do on any trip. You need to prepare. You need to have questions answered. The more you know, the better you'll feel about going, and the more that you'll enjoy the trip. So where do you get that information? How do you get this planning and preparation going? That's the purpose for this open house tonight. The counselors that are here are your travel agents, okay? And they're the ones that are going to field your questions a little later and hopefully get you started on this. So with that, I'm going to conclude my comments, and I'm going to invite Professor Katie Dana and Madison Fleureau and Patrick Gomez, who are your panelists tonight and former students of mine, to come forward and do their presentation. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for your attention.
Good evening. As Dean Clark mentioned, my name is Catherine Dana. I work at Trinity Law School full-time as the Director of Advancement. I also supervise our law clinic, and I also teach community property. I'm a family law attorney. One of the things that also makes me unique to speak with you guys is I'm a Trinity alumni as well. It wasn't too long ago that I was sitting in your shoes, trying to decide whether or not to go to law school. Law school was something that I always considered growing up, I dreamed about. My mom says that by the 4th grade, she stopped winning arguments with me. She would get to this point where she would tell me, I know that I'm right, but I can't argue with you anymore, so we'll wait till your dad comes home and he can finish the argument. So when he'd get home, we'd talk, and as I got older, he'd start smirking a little bit when he could see that I was making good arguments with him, and it was just kind of how my brain worked, right? Some of you may be really curious in life. Some of you may constantly be questioning things or thinking deeply about certain topics, and that's how it was for me growing up. And so when I came to Trinity, and I visited Trinity, I knew that that was a place that I wanted to be. And when I actually started law school, something about being in the law, being in classrooms with other individuals, the way that I saw the world, the way my brain worked, I felt like I fit in. And I was surrounded by students in my classroom, other peers with me, that we often had very much and similar in how we thought about things, but we were also vastly different as well. And so hopefully tonight, one of the things that I'm going to share with you is my experience as a Trinity alumni and what sets Trinity apart. I wanted to also bring up 2 alumni so that you have a chance not only to hear from me, but also from our alumni. We're going to dive into several subjects. We're going to talk about the dedicated faculty, our smaller class sizes, our academic support, our practical skills, our Center of Human Rights, as well as internships and opportunities. Because all of these questions are things that you likely want to know and should know while you're making your decision on where to go to law school. Before doing so, I want to introduce you to two of our Trinity alumni. The first one is Madison Fleureau. Ms. Fleureau graduated from Notre Dame College with a degree in criminal justice. She began her studies at Trinity in the spring of 2021 and graduated this May, ranking in the top 10% of her class. During law school, she earned a degree. During law school, she sat on the editorial board for the National Association of Women Lawyers and was selected to write 3 articles for the Women Lawyer Journal. She also earned the highest grades in 10 of her courses. In July 2023, she attended the International Institute of Human Rights at Trinity Law School, so you'll get to hear about her experience there. And she just sat for the July 2024 California bar exam. Patrick Gomez earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from Marymount, California University. During his studies, he participated in a study abroad program at the Regent University of London. He then went on to attend Trinity Law School, where he received multiple awards for earning the highest grades in his classes, and he was selected as our moot court team. So you'll get to hear his experience of that. He later earned a master's degree in legal studies with a focus on criminal justice, and he had a second master's degree in legal studies in an alternative dispute. He also completed online studies at Harvard Business School in entrepreneurship skills. And he's a former deputy district attorney in both Kern County as well as Riverside County. He now practices criminal defense. He's a partner at Gomez, Radford, and Rome, where he represents clients accused of serious offenses, including murder, domestic violence, robbery, drug-related crimes, and many more. So you're going to hear from both of these individuals about their experiences at Trinity and what sets Trinity apart. First, I want to talk about our dedicated faculty. One of the things that's so important is that you get to experience faculty that truly care about you. You're not just another number in a large classroom. Our professors know your name, they talk to you, they pray for you. They really do get to know you as a student. Trinity prides itself on having smaller classrooms. We really do believe that the smaller classroom will give you an experience with better learning. And so with that, I wanted to just ask both of our alumni if either of you have a story about maybe a faculty that made an impact on you and what your experience was like in their classroom. Go ahead.
Sure, I'll go first. It's actually with Professor Dana here. You might not remember this, but I took Professor Dana's community property class about 1.5 years ago now, and it was my 3L year, so all the way at the end of law school, you should know what you're kind of doing by now. You should be prepared on day 1. I was not, and I tried to hide it. She called on me. I think I briefed maybe the first couple of cases, and she called on me for case number 3, of course, the first one that I didn't do. And guess who was never not ready for class again? I was never not ready. I was ready to brief every single case every single day if she wanted me to. That impact, driving over here, I was trying to think of one of these stories, and that was the first one that came to mind, was she invested in the bit of reprimand I got in class, the very loving reprimand I got in class, instilled in me to never be not prepared for her class again. And that one experience carries on through so many other aspects of life too. So something so small as be prepared on day 1 of class translated to so many other learning opportunities for myself.
Yeah, kind of bouncing off that. So number 1, thank you everyone for being here tonight. Appreciate it. So we're all part of the Trinity family. Like Ms. Dana's mentioning, it's one big family. One thing I could think of specifically would be my criminal law class. So unlike other schools, what attracted me to Trinity is that most, if not all, of your professors are actually practicing attorneys. So my criminal law professor was an Orange County DA, and I learned so much from him as far as what a case is worth, the elements of a crime, and how all this pretty much comes together. So that stuck with me, and that encouraged me to be a prosecutor. So it's just the fact that you have hands-on and real-life experience with attorneys who are your professors is something that stood out to me for sure.
Absolutely. And one of the things that's nice about Trinity is that our professors truly make themselves available to you. You know, like I said, you're not just another number. Our professors have office hours. The professors who are full-time on campus, when they're in their office, you can oftentimes just knock on their door and tell them, you know, hey, I'm really struggling with this and I need some additional assistance. Or would you mind giving me some feedback on a practice exam? Even in our online classes, our professors set appointments up with students and meet with students to really help them understand the topics that they are studying in classes. So again, that makes it a very big distinction between some other law schools. I know some other schools where you only have the opportunity to talk to a teaching assistant. Sometimes there's students, whereas at Trinity, you really have that opportunity to talk one-on-one with your professor. And you know, Trinity does really become that Trinity family. We also have a very robust on-course academic support program. So in your handouts that you guys have, you should have some information about our academic support. One of the things that sets Trinity apart is that we start you on day one with preparing you for the California bar exam. Because your end goal is not just to obtain a Juris Doctorate degree, right? Your end goal is to actually pass the bar exam so you can practice law. And I like to say it's a little pop exam, but it's not a pop exam. It's a very challenging exam. And so we start you on day one with that preparation. And how does that work? So first thing we do is we do an orientation. It's a 2-day orientation. It's mandatory for students. We offer it both in person. If you're in a 100-mile radius, you must be there in person. And if you're online outside of a 100-mile radius, we do allow you to come online, but we do invite everybody to be in person. And we, at that orientation, spend 2 full days working with you to prepare you for what you can expect on your first day of classes. So we start you with how to outline, how to brief a case. We teach you essentially some essay writing skills that are also very important, how to approach multiple choice questions, which are half of the California bar exam. We give you a general understanding of the United States law system, so you have a basics of that before even starting your classes. And then you also participate in 2 mock classes with 2 of our professors. So going into your first day of law school, you are able to know exactly what's going to be expected of you on that first day. In addition to our orientation, we have what's called our Law School Success Series. And that's offered within the first semester of your classes, and those are taught by professors. And so what we do for those is we revisit some of the topics you've learned in orientation in the first couple of weeks of classes, because now you have an even further understanding of those topics. So again, outlining, essay writing, case briefing, and MBE approaches. And then you get to your midterms, and you'll get feedback from your midterms from your professors, and then we meet with you for your first advisement meeting. You're assigned an academic advisor at the beginning of your law school journey, and that advisor stays with you all the way through your last semester. The purpose of those meetings is to essentially check in with you. How are you doing in your classes? Is there anything different that you need to do? We look at a study schedule with you. Are you spending too much time, briefing cases when you should be maybe memorizing or doing more practice writing? We will work with you with that schedule and help you make sure that you're staying focused on your studies. Those advisements go all the way through to the end of your schooling, and that's where we talk about the bar exam and your employment. What are you doing for internships to get practical experience? We also have our summer MBE diagnostics. These are reviews that we do after you've completed subjects to keep you refreshed and reviewing subjects you've already covered, so that by the time you get to the bar exam, those become essentially just a review for you. The bar becomes a review rather than you learning those topics. We have a 2L bar diagnostic exam. That essentially is a mock bar where it's very detailed on the areas that you need to improve on. That's given in your second year. So before you even get to your third year, you can see and have time to make adjustments that you need to make before the bar exam. We have a performance test workshop. That's another element of the bar exam. And then we have bar essay writing workshops. You will also take a mandatory class in your last year of law school called Advanced Exam Skills and Approaches. And that's to prepare you for the bar exam. It's a bar review course. So like I said, we are preparing you from day one all the way through. I'm gonna ask Madison, because Madison just took the bar exam. What would you say for preparation? How did you feel prepared? What do you think was the best preparation that Trinity offered to you?
I can attest 100% to the fact that Trinity prepared me from day one of law school for the bar. During my studies for the bar, I did a lot of my studying at the library at school. I'd be there at 8 a.m. and leave when they close, and then go to another law school down the street to be there for the next couple of hours because they would be open a little bit later sometimes. And talking to other people from different law schools, you really see how Trinity, yes, prepared you to sit for your exams in class and so on and so forth, get through school and get your degree. But from day one, they really prepared us to sit for the bar. In talking to other people, you really see that some other schools, not that I can speak on their behalf, but they were really instructed to how to pass that class or how to get to the next step in law school. And especially the AEAS, the Advanced Exam Approaches course we had to take our last semester of law school, it's a review, getting you ready for bar prep. From May 18th, I think our graduation was, to June 30th or July 30th. All you're doing is reviewing every single thing you did in law school, whether it's the big subjects or the littler, more minute details. Everything is thrown at you in those 90 days that you really have to study. So getting the ball rolling in an earlier time frame was definitely very vital for me. Also, too, with he's touched on another subject.
The diagnostics.
Oh, and then our
Advisement.
advisements, too. I worked full-time through law school, which is not often the case with many. So I'd be working anywhere from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then going to class from 6 to 9:30 every single day. So having those advisements and check-ins, and I had the privilege of Dean Clark being my advisor from day one during law school. They know your schedule, they know what you do, they know what you do for a living, and they work with you to see exactly what they can do to help or what we can do to rearrange things. Maybe it's not the status quo that everything is working for everybody, but they really take that individual approach that was really, really helpful for me.
Great. Patrick, about anything you want to add there?
Yeah, just bouncing off. I can go talk about this all day, but if I want to just bifurcate and pinpoint as to what were the key aspects of Trinity, is the fact that when you start, the professors will teach you how to answer an exam, and that exam will mirror an answer for the California bar. You're not going to get lost in theory as far as why did this happen and get stuck for 3 weeks discussing something that isn't practical and you don't really need to know for the bar. They will teach you all that, sure, but most of the emphasis on is practicality. Do I need to know this? How does it work? How can I apply it? How can I use this to pass the bar? And so that's kind of the main takeaway. I've worked with people that have gone to some of the most prestigious law schools, and I can tell you that with the professors we have, I know more things off the top of my head because I had to, because you're in a short classroom and you know you're going to get called on, than someone who was in an auditorium and they got called on maybe once or twice this semester. So you're going to really know things, you're going to know how they work, and like everyone up here is saying, if you don't, then ask. It's one big family. I can go back to my orientation. I can remember that most of the people in that room are practicing attorneys that I see all the time, whether they're in the civil world or in the criminal world, It's a very small network, and it's a big family, at least for Trinity. And we can't speak for other schools, but I can tell you for this school that you will learn hands-on how it works, and you will learn how to apply that for the bar. And that's the most key, I think, aspect in the takeaway as far as you're not lost in theory. It's how does it work? How does it apply? Other schools, from my experience, as well as talking to my fellow coworkers, you get lost in the theory that someone who teaches that class has never stepped foot in a courtroom. So they really don't know how it works. But at Trinity, most of the professors are actually practicing attorneys. So they know how it works, they know how it applies, and they can answer those questions. And it's real life stuff that you can apply for the bar and use that as a tool to pass the bar. And so Trinity really caters that into that aspect as well.
Yes, and I will say that because you're also being taught a lot of practical skills, we're also preparing you for practice in addition to the bar exam. So that leads to our next topic, which is practical skills that you get, both in the classroom as well as opportunities available to you with the clinics that we have. So we have multiple clinics that you can participate in. You participate in those clinics, you can apply for those clinics once you hit 30 units. We do that because we want you to take some of the key classes, such as civil procedure and evidence, so you know how to apply those when you're actually working on real cases. So we have a clinic at the Orange County Rescue Mission. The Orange County Rescue Mission is a transitional living facility in Tustin. They have over 300 residents, and they have even more alumni. And we provide free legal services to those residents. And we get everything in there from criminal expungements to domestic violence cases to custody cases. So we essentially say it's door law, whatever walks in the door. But we get to help the residents who are in the process of getting on their feet. And we've had some great successes. I will say that this last year, one of the cases that we handled, we had a victim of human trafficking. She had been trafficked for sex, and she had lost her kid in the middle of that time period. And she got her life back together, and at the clinic, we were able to assist her with getting custody of her kid back. So we not only get the opportunity to have some real hands-on experience, but we get an opportunity to make an impact for our community. We also have the Trinity Mobile Clinic, which is a bus that is suited as an office. And we get to go to the Village of Hope and provide some services there. We have the Religious Liberty Clinic, and we partner with the Pacific Justice Institute. They work on constitutional cases. We have the Trinity Mediation Clinic, where you can get certified as a mediator to handle mediations for the court. We have a new clinic that's a fully online clinic, and that is a Trinity Immigration Clinic. So we provide immigration services as well. We also have moot court. Our moot court competition is, we compete against a lot of other schools, and Trinity may be a small family, but we are definitely mighty. We have a great moot court team. In one of the recent competitions, Trinity competed, and we made it to the semifinals, and our team members made it in the top 4 out of 35 law schools around the nation. That tournament, we competed against Golden Gate, Loyola, Laverne, 2 teams from the University of San Francisco, UC Hastings, Pepperdine, and Cal Western, and we beat them all. We advanced to the preliminary rounds against Baylor, the University of San Francisco, Syracuse, and the University of Alabama. We also eliminated Fordham and American University of Washington in the Sweet 16 and Octo rounds to advance to the semifinals. So our moot court team is a very well-ran team, and we have a great professor that leads that. So again, all of these are opportunities for practical skills. I'm going to ask Patrick to share kind of his experience because he worked with our Religious Liberty Clinic.
Yeah, that was a great experience. That's all constitutional law. So is someone's amendment being violated? So is the freedom of a religion being violated? And so is very hands-on approach with that professor. It's a little office that's there on site. There's also a bigger office. There's a radio show as well. So it's a big national network that you're essentially a part of. And it's protecting and defending people's religious freedom. So it was a very hands-on approach, working on motions, and that was the first time I saw pleading paper and how to use pleading paper. And it's, again, very hands-on, and you get to actually work on the motions and see where they end up. Not only that, but I also did the moot court team. And on the moot court team, like Ms. Dana's mentioning, it's very competitive, but it teaches you skills to be a litigator. It's not something that you will learn when you have your first job and your boss throws you in court and you don't know what you're doing. The moot court team does the exact opposite. It will tell you how to do something, how to present a case in front of a judge, how to make sure that everything you're doing is sound argument supported by the law, in addition to your facts, and why that law should support your facts and the same ruling as well. So it's, again, very practical. You are learning a lot from when you step in. The moot court team is something that I recommend everyone to do because you really hone in on your skills as a litigator and really develop the skills into actually becoming a successful attorney that can actually do these things and advocate for their clients in court.
Absolutely. We also have our Center for Human Rights, and so Madison got a chance to participate in that. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing about what the Center of Human Rights is and your experience with that.
Yeah, I can go on about this all day. The Center for Human Rights, we actually had the opportunity to study abroad in Strasbourg, France. I think it was about 6 weeks over the summer. Who doesn't want to spend an entire semester in France alone, getting the same exact credits that I needed to attend law school anyway, as I would be in Santa Ana. So taking advantage of that, studying abroad, was pivotal for me. I did not have the biggest interest in going into anything human rights related, personally. For practice, I work in real estate and finance, so I couldn't have anything polar opposite. But going to the instruction there and opening your eyes to different viewpoints of the world. I mean, you're sitting in class and there's an attorney from Monaco sitting next to you, and then maybe a law student from Zimbabwe next to them, and then somebody from Canada next to them. You get such a diverse group of people, all like-minded like yourself, like Professor Dana was mentioning. You finally feel like you fit in Trinity, and then you feel like you fit in this bigger worldly aspect of the law. And it was such a beautiful experience, opening your eyes to something that you're really not ever open to, but I would go back again if I could. It was a truly phenomenal experience.
Yeah, we send a group out every single summer for that. We also have a Cambodia trip that we also do a human rights class in Cambodia as well. So you have a lot of opportunities for those that are interested in those topics. And then we get into internships and employment, right? Because not only do you want to earn a law degree and pass the bar, but you actually want to practice. So what does employment look like? What opportunities are available to you? Well, we have alumni working in private practice. We have alumni at government agencies, in-house counsel, and many more areas. And we've talked a lot about Trinity being a family, because one of the things that's nice with Trinity is that our alumni easily are able to reach out to other Trinity family in the network, not only for finding jobs, but also in practice. There are times where you may have a case that's a little bit outside of your area of law. Like I said, I do family law. A couple weeks ago, I had a case that touched on criminal law. So guess who I called? Patrick, right? And I said, hey, I've got this case that I'm working on and have some questions. There's a criminal aspect of it. So Trinity becomes a really big networking source for that as well. And so Patrick is obviously the one that's practicing right now. Madison's waiting for her bar results. But why don't you share about internships, opportunities? You've worked in both government agencies as well as private practice because you now have your own firm. Share a little bit about how Trinity's family helped you with all of that.
Sure. The first thing to that regard is I wanted to get my feet wet with prosecution and how that works. So I went to who was our academic advisor, and I said, is there any openings for any DA's office as an internship or as an extern, whatever the case may be, whatever label we want to put on there. They immediately reached out, and there was a Trinity network that at that time was associated with the San Bernardino County DA's office. So I was able to get an internship through Trinity's relationship with that office. So from there, I learned what a prelim is and how to argue from a judge, and you can get what's called certified law school student, essentially status, which allows you to appear on the record and make arguments. So from there, I went to intern for a professor, Brian Kazarian, and I was a law clerk with him. That actually was my first legal job as well, working for Brian. So I was a criminal defense attorney with him as well. So it's all about the Trinity Network, but it got me my first internship and actually got me my first job.
Absolutely. And then now, one of the things that I will say is I want you guys to take a minute and I want you to look around the classroom, okay? Look around the room where you guys are at. There's a lot of people in here, okay? The reason I'm having you do this is because you may be sitting next to or sitting across somebody who you have no idea is going to become one of your closest friends. There's something about attending the law school with people that essentially puts you through the fire, but also bonds you really closely with people, like we said, could be vastly different and maybe somebody you wouldn't have naturally become friends with, but that through the law school experience, you become lifelong friends. And so these are friends that you call at any time, that you keep up with, that you refer cases to. And so just that is something that I think is also unique about Trinity. Yes, there's some competitiveness in classes, but that competitiveness is also along with your peers wanting other students to succeed as well. And so if you guys would just share about friendships that were forged and those opportunities that you learned from both in classes as well as outside of the classroom. Patrick, you can speak towards practice.
Sure. I called it like a battle buddy, because you're in law school. I didn't know any attorneys. I didn't know what I was doing. So I started school and then found someone who was like-minded like me, who can really put in the work that was needed to do well in school. So you want to make sure it's a buddy system, but you want to make sure that the person, whoever is in your study group, is actually devoted and motivated to do it. Like Professor Dan is mentioning, this is law school. It's not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be hard, but it's not impossible. You can do it, and it gives you the skills to really sharpen your claws to be a successful attorney. So if you can implement that now, early, that's going to help you in the future. But going to the specific question as far as making friendships, that's 100% true. You will have friends that you have in law school from all over the world, from different parts of the country that come to California because they want to be a California attorney and they want to practice in California and in California courts. And you see them all the time. As I'm sure you'll hear, the most important thing as an attorney is your reputation, and that starts in law school. So if you have that reputation of being a hard worker and you're there from the school when it opens, or you're working at home, or whatever it is you're doing to make sure that you brief your cases and you stay on top of things and you memorize the law and you know how to apply it, that will really benefit you in the future. But the relationships you build here and the study partners and the habits you implement now will benefit you tenfold when you're actually practicing attorney, because you establish the groundwork now and you will make a ton of friends who will become colleagues who I see them all the time. For example, when I used to be a prosecutor, I worked with other prosecutors that went to Trinity. But now I'm on the defense, I still see people that I graduated law school who are DAs now. And it's a great environment, it's a great reputation to have, because everyone knows where everyone is coming from, and they know the battle that we went through together. And so it just gives you much more respect in that regard. But yes, it is a family. You will have a lot of friends, and everyone will support you. No one is going to bring you down. No one's going to hide books in the library so that you don't get it. It's all one big support system, because at the end of the day, we all represent the Trinity family, and it's the core values that really make a difference here.
Absolutely. One of my favorite stories is one of our alumni who graduated and was very new to practice and had walked into a courtroom, and the judge was asking a lot of questions. He was kind of sweating bullets because he's not quite sure what the judge was thinking or wanting from him. And so they had taken a quick break, and he's kind of standing on the corner of the courtroom, and he's just sweating, and he gets a tap on the shoulder. And he turns around and he kind of recognizes the person, but not fully. And the guy said, I recognized you. You were at Trinity at the same time I was, but you were, 1L, I was a 3L. I just wanted to tell you that this is what this particular judge wants. And he basically helped him out in the courtroom, and that attorney went back up to, when he had the hearing officially started, and was basically able to answer all of the judge's questions. And so, again, it's that family that is the environment that we provide. And Madison, you've been in classes. Share about the friendships that were forged for classes and how that helped you in classes.
Absolutely. I don't know how I can follow the both of these up, but really quickly, I think we mentioned it before, is you fit in these classes in a very unique way, and you bond with these people that you're in classes with in a sense that nobody in your family doesn't understand, your friends don't understand. It's the people that are in the classes, that are in the fire, so to speak, with you, are the only people that really understand what you're going through and how to help, really. So I can't say that I've seen anybody in practice yet. Hopefully in a few days now, that'll be my reality, like Patrick's and Professor Dana's. But I still talk to so many of my friends. We went abroad together. We got through law school together, and I know that I'll have a lot of these friendships for the rest of my life.
So that kind of gives you guys what Trinity's, what sets Trinity apart. We will be here afterwards for any Q&A questions that you guys may have. Feel free to approach any of us. We are an open book with what you can expect and what makes Trinity really, truly amazing. So thank you so much. Next up is going to be Stephanie Vadas.
Is my mic, is this one working? Okay, great. Hi everybody, I'm Stephanie Vadas. I'm the Director of JD Admissions here at Trinity Law School. We absolutely love what you're doing right now. The fact that you're going to hear about the school that you're interested in. We know you're doing this with lots of schools right now, and we want to continue to encourage you to do so. When you apply to law school, you get accepted because we think we're gonna be a good fit for you. You want to make sure that the school is going to be a good fit for your personality, not just us to you or you to us. So continue to do exactly what you're doing right now. Okay, so I'm going to go through a few of the quick, important questions, kind of the most boring part of the evening. So of course we left that to the end. I apologize. But basically, can I get in? Can I afford it? And can it fit in my schedule? So for Trinity Law School, because we are a Cal Bar school, you need a minimum of an AA or an AS degree, or those 60 units that could transfer to a Cal State or a four-year accredited institution. The LSAT is an opportunity for our traditional track, which we'll go in for a second, a score of a 145 or higher. We're going to talk more about the LSAT in a little bit, but just know that if you are interested in the spring semester and trying to get into the traditional track in 2 days, the 26th, I think today's 24th, is the registration deadline for the November LSAT. That's the last LSAT that you can take that would count towards the spring semester. Okay, so that's kind of a side note, just the timing of the event. Okay, so also, this is for our JD degree. I like to say that because we do offer our Master's of Legal Studies program. Specifically, the JD is for those that are interested in practicing law, like they were all talking about being in a courtroom, having clients, all those wonderful things. That's different than our Master's of Legal Studies program. We do have classes that are held on campus, online, or you can also we do offer a hybrid option for those of you that might have other responsibilities, family, children that you need to take care of. The online option is an opportunity for you as well. The JD program is a 90-unit program. It can be done in 3 years full-time, 4 years part-time. And the tuition is $1,075 per unit. There is federal aid. We'll go over that in a little bit, and as well as those scholarships we'll also review. I did mention the traditional track versus our flex track. So our flex track is an opportunity for those students that took the LSAT and did not score that 145 that we require to be in our traditional. It is an opportunity that it's automatic part-time your first 2, possibly 3 semesters. Your classes are held in the evenings. And how it works is like in your first 2 or possibly 3 semesters, you need to achieve a cumulative 2.67 or higher GPA to move on. One thing I like to remind everybody is some people are like, great, I got a 3.9 in undergrad, this is gonna be a piece of cake. It's graded on a curve. So that 2.67 or higher is a little bit harder than it's going to be from your undergrad or even graduate school that you went to. If you don't achieve that 2.67 or higher GPA to move on, and you are luckily and hopefully not dismissed for low grades, you do have to take and pass the first year law student exam, also known as the baby bar, before you can move on to your second year. And all the coursework during this flex track does prep you to take the baby bar and prep you for the baby bar. You'll take torts, criminal law, and contracts, which is what the baby bar reviews you on. So, again, if you were to get that 145 or higher, you then go into our traditional track, which the great thing is you don't have to worry about that baby bar. So this is kind of like a good visual for you. Is the regular traditional track LSAT required? Yes. For the flex track, no, or that 130 to 144, that a little bit lower score. Scholarships are available for those in the regular track. Unfortunately, they're not available for you if you go into the flex track. The schedule is fixed for those that decide to go into the flex track. It is just those 3 classes, and they are held in the evenings. If you go into the regular track, you do have option of morning, afternoon, or evenings. The baby bar is not required for those that go into traditional, so that's why we encourage you to take that LSAT. And then for both tracks, yes, the coursework goes towards your JD. The flex is in no way any sort of remedial, introductory. It's the same classes that you would take in the regular track, just curriculum slightly different for you. Can I afford this? So yes, like we were talking about, the school is about $1,075 per unit. So if you were to attend full-time, it's around $33,000. I'm sorry, yeah, full-time it's around $33,000, part-time is around $26,000. Same thing for the JD flex track for those first 2 semesters. LSAT score, the one thing and one of the many things I really love about Trinity is we offer very, very generous scholarships. So if you were to take that LSAT, get that 145 or higher and attend online, or I'm sorry, full-time, not online, attend full-time, you would be able to get the scholarship starting at $2,000, and we even offer scholarships all the way up to full tuition plus stipend with that 155 or higher of an LSAT score. So I know that maybe the LSAT does not seem very fun to you, but you're going to need to learn to take tests anyways going to law school. So we definitely encourage you to take the LSAT. You can take it up to 3 times in 1 year. And the beautiful thing about Trinity is we take your highest score. We don't average your score. We don't take just your most recent score. We take your highest score. So we really do encourage you to take that LSAT. It's a little bit last minute notice, but if you do apply this evening, we would invite you to our free LSAT prep class that we'll be having this Saturday. It is held online. It's a live Zoom. It's a free class all day for any of our applicants. So even if you're thinking about it and you're like, maybe I should apply, take this class, see if it's something that I need to study a lot for, and maybe this is going to show me that law school isn't for me, not my jam. I would encourage you to do so. It is going to be held this Saturday from about 9 to 4 via a live Zoom link. And it's with well-known LSAT prep tutor Mark Sachs. He's here in Orange County. Financial aid, yes, for professional programs like this, we do offer 2 types of loans, the direct unsubsidized loan, the plus loan. Most students can get the full amount of tuition covered. We encourage you not to take the full amount if you don't have to, but we understand a lot of people have to because of other responsibilities and whatnot. As we were talking about earlier, can we fit it in your schedule? We understand that you might have a family you're taking care of, maybe an elderly parent that you're taking care of. You have a volunteer schedule that you just cannot get rid of because it's something you're passionate about. We understand that. So you can attend to go part-time or full-time. We're one of the few schools that don't require 1L students your first year. You have to go full-time. There are a lot of law schools out there that require you to go full-time your first year and not have any sort of outside work or anything like that. Like I said, you can take classes if you're in the traditional track in morning, afternoon, or evenings. The flex track is a little more strict those first 2 or 3 semesters, but then if you were to move on, then you can become more flexible at that point. Okay, I think I got through all the boring stuff. So with that said, we know we like to be sensitive of your time. We know a lot of you traveled in from far away, so we will take a couple minutes to do some questions, and then we'll also be hanging around afterwards to continue to answer your questions as well, okay? So I'd like to open up for any questions right now. Yes?
Is the Saturday class going to be available like after it's over, like the Zoom link will it be available?
So for the Saturday prep class, it will not be, unfortunately. It's not going to be recorded. Yeah, we do offer them 2 times a year. We'll have another one probably March or April next year if you're interested in fall 25. Yeah, good question though. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Are all the classes at 6 p.m. or is there anything earlier?
So if you were to take evening classes on campus, they're at 6:30. Online in the evening would be 6 o'clock. If you're in the traditional track though, yes, they have them in the morning. I think it's like 9:30, 10:15.
Yeah, so we have like 9, depending on your schedule, whether you're full-time or part-time.
Yeah.
If you're in the traditional track, we have classes that start at 9, like 10:30, and then 1:45 in the afternoon.
Yeah, good question. Anybody else? You can catch us afterwards as well. Okay, so I do want to do a quick little raffle. 2 different questions. One, everybody look in their bag and see if you have a highlighter. Highlighter, anybody? I know, it's a super fancy highlighter. You're super excited, I know. I get it. You maybe? Highlighter? It looks like it from here. It's only a highlighter. We didn't put pins in there. So if you have any sort of writing utensil in there, yeah? Fabulous. Okay, I'll bring this over to you. Anybody else? We should have 3 of them out there. Come on, don't be shy. And then I also like to play the silly old game. Yes, Miss over here, I'll grab you one too. Who traveled the furthest to get here? Bakersfield. That's my hometown. You're speaking my jam. I love it. Love Bakersfield.
Gray Prius?
No.
Okay.
It wasn't me that almost hit you on the freeway, probably. Bakersfield, anybody further than Bakersfield? It's about 150 miles. Yes, sir, in the back? Visalia, sorry, 1 up. Just that next little county right there. I love it. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. Also, as a reminder, what Director Gary said earlier, if you do apply tonight and use the application fee waiver code Open House, we will send you a free LSAT prep book. And then we will continue to answer your questions after this, but I do want to close this in prayer really quickly, okay? Oh, sir, yes?
Do I have to apply tonight or can I do it tomorrow?
Try to do it in the next 24 hours. We'll let you, because we understand. Well, by the time you get home to Bakersfield, I mean, yes. It's only because you're from Bakersfield I'll let you do it. Just kidding. No, 25 within the next 24 hours, use the code Open House, okay? Thank you again for everybody for being here. You're wonderful. I'm going to close this in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you so much just for this opportunity to have these wonderful minds be open to learning about the law school journey. Whether this is their first time they're learning about law school, maybe they're an applicant, perhaps they've already been accepted to Trinity and they're becoming a part of our community this coming spring or next fall. Continue to give them wisdom and patience and just the knowledge of what questions to ask as they go through this process, Lord. We love everybody that's here. Pray that you keep everybody safe as they go home. And thank you for all the wonderful blessings you give us, Lord. In your name, amen. Thank you so much, everybody. I am. That's right. I remember hearing. That's right. Didn't you work with? You worked in DZ's office. Did you know? Did you? Yeah. Yeah. So Cole Sherman. That was quick. Yeah. Okay, so he's like our neighbor, and we also go to church together. He's like one of our really good friends. Yeah. Oh no, I love it.